Hey guys, Nuzley here. For real this time, I am here in person now. Today I'm going to be going through your unpopular opinions. I put a poll, or not a poll, why did I say poll? I put a community post up like about a few weeks ago now, I think. I'd asked for your guys' unpopular opinions when it comes to versus stuff or death battle or whatever. I expect some pretty bad ones in here. But then again, I have absolutely no room to talk. Also, I was originally going to do this with someone, but then I realised I don't have friends. So today I am doing face cam to, compensate for that, which is a bit like stealing from a homeless man and then giving them a pile of shit. But here we are. This PowerPoint was also put together by a certain chaotic banana, as he puts it. So massive shout out to him. The reason I put it in a PowerPoint situation is so that I don't immediately see the next comment, and it's also more ordered as well. We also might get some commentary from Banana as well. So, yeah, Meliodas can beat Ichigo. Honestly, I don't really know. I don't know Seven Deadly Sins scaling, but from what I can tell, this is definitely a really spicy take. Especially when you ask my Discord server who think that Ichigo just stomps, but, here we are. Jotaro can beat Goku, right?
He has to go, blood.
Seek medical attention, please. Aofumi can beat Rimuru because he is way faster than him. I don't know who that guy is. I'm going to be real honest with you. All I know is that Rimuru is just really known for being powerful, I guess. Giorno is absolute fodder, dies to Goku, the Ginyu Force, Jotaro, and Saitama. Literally anyone above 2400C and city level can neg him.
Someone said it in it, not me in it, but I agree with that person as well in it, but I didn't, I was not the one that, you know what I'm saying?
And Bananas left a comment saying, did this guy have a stroke typing this? Honestly, I do kind of hear it. Like, I do think Giorno's a little overrated, but I don't think it's like as black and white as to say that literally anyone above that level can beat him. Especially considering like hacks and all that. Not that I'm saying that GER is as broken as people make him out to be, but you know what I mean. Mushai Maimoto from Baki beats Yorichi from Demon Slayer, and Baki beats Tanjiro. Honestly, I do kind of hear it. I mean, it depends on how you like interpret certain things. Like if you, like I know there's like scaling for Baki that's pretty wild. So I mean, I don't really doubt that, but I mean, I've yet to get into scaling of Baki, so I can't really comment on that. Sword of Hope Super Saiyan Rage Trunks destroys Gohan Beast. And he's misspelled destroyed. As shown by Banana, yeah. No, like I know that versus stuff is subjective, but this is just objectively incorrect. Gohan Beast was stated the strongest warrior. Yeah, that just no. Kid Buu absolutely murders Buuhan in the anime, and I will gladly prove why to anyone who asks. Right, even if this is true for the anime, it doesn't make sense. So I'm just going to pretend like it does. I'm just going to pretend that Buuhan still wins. Just for the lols, Doomslayer solos the canon Dragon Ball verse. Honestly, it depends. Like, it depends on how you scale both. I think there's an argument for it, and just, again, it depends on how you scale both series. Madara beats Aizen, and in general, Bleach has been somewhat overhyped in terms of power in the last few years. I have heard that Bleach has been overhyped, but then again, I've seen people scale Goku to multi-galaxy to Outer Versa recently and everywhere in between, so who am I to say? Madara beating Aizen, oh yeah, that's a pretty hot take. I only know the Naruto side of things, I don't know Bleach scaling yet, but yeah, I mean, you can debate that in the comments if you so wish. Hunter x Hunter is easily past island level, and characters such as Adult Gun and Meruem are easily multi-continental, and the largest creatures of Dark Island continent are planetary. I mean, I must ask, like, I kind of get the large creatures part, but there's no evidence for, Gon and Meruem to be multi-continental from what I know. Yeah, I just have no idea. Apparently this is the comment that had the most replies under it, so, take that as you will, as Banana says. Rimuru is fodder. Sure, sure. From what I hear, and by that I mean Versus Battle Wiki, the ever present, authority on Versus. Rimuru is like multiversal or something, which yeah isn't that strong by comparison to the rest of fiction, but it is still alright, I suppose. Kid Sakura has the best reaction feat than Kid Naruto and Sasuke before the training exams. I would have to reread Naruto to see this, but from what I can remember, I don't think so. But I mean, yeah, I could just be misremembering, I suppose. Number one, Natsu Dragil is a universal scaled character who would be completely annihilated if he fought anyone with true universal feats or anyone of that caliber. I have heard Fairy Tail universal scaling, but again, I haven't watched Fairy Tail. I can't comment on it. I probably should have realised I can't comment on most of these, but here we are. SCP characters are overscaled when it comes to tiering. I mean, if you agree that Marvel and DC characters have tons of anti-feats, then you shouldn't be insulting people because they don't agree with your scaling. These are characters with decades of spanning lore that have become infamous because of the amount of different interpretations people have in them. Is okay to think something that Superman peaks at the solar system, for example. Not everyone has read that comic where he pulls a casual multiversal feat. This doesn't mean that these ways to scale these characters aren't correct or free from criticism, but my point is that people aren't idiots for buying it and shouldn't be treated as such. Yeah, I don't exactly have anything to say to that. I can agree with that. I mean, I guess so. People need to stop I really don't like the use of the word wanking when it comes to scaling. I mean, I know like it's popular and is like the main way to say that a character is like overhyped, but like, come on. Need to stop wanking characters like Metroman and take time to look into scaling for verses instead of taking stuff at face value or trying to get a character verse higher because one word has definition. That might make the Versa character more powerful if I worded that correctly. I think you did word that correctly, but yeah, Metroman in specific just gets overhyped, and I've got really no idea why, besides the fact he's a funny meme man. The amount of people that think he genuinely beats Omni-Man surprises me a lot. Sakura blitz Kaguya at the end of the battle. Yeah, at the end of the battle. I mean, I do think that Sakura should be somewhat comparable to the other two, like Naruto and Sasuke, due to like the narrative implications of it and the fact that she was actually able to physically harm Kaguya. But then again, Kaguya was also like not facing Sakura, so I mean, you could argue that Kaguya's not fully on guard. But either way, Sakura beats Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation needs more attention in terms of both matchups and different characters from the verse needing scaled. My boy Rudis Grey Rat, that is some name I must say, always gets disrespected when I mention him in versus relegated posts. There always are verses like that need more attention and generally are just underrated. Inazuma 11 for one, I think is one that's up there. I need to do scaling on that soon. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I suppose. Total Drama needs an episode of Death Battle, not gonna lie, I don't know what Total Drama is. I really have no idea what that is. Am I going to hell for that? Right, apparently a lot of comments were made saying a lot more people need to scale Viral Hit. Viral Hit character can beat Lookism characters, and Sehun Mickey would be a good fight. I mean, sure, I don't know what that is. Yeah. It's very underwhelming how underrated Adam, Record of Ragnarok, is in the power scale community. He is barely mentioned. I have seen him mentioned recently for a matchup with Saitama in a server that I'm in, but besides that, yeah, I don't really hear much of that verse being talked about. Dio versus Springtrap is an amazing match. Okay. For some reason, I really want to see an 11 matchup Stranger Things. Her versus Much, American Chavez, or Carrie would be cool. I think I read that correctly, either that was just typed out really strangely. I mean, I haven't seen Stranger Things, funnily enough, so I can't really comment on that either. Mordecai and Rigby versus Finn and Jake is a bad matchup. Honestly, it does vibe with me, even though I've barely watched much of either show. But I mean, I can understand why people don't like it as well, to be fair. JoJo versus Persona is the most overhyped rivalry in Versus. Its only good matchups are Joker versus Giorno and Kira versus Adachi. I hear this as well, by the way. The amount of times I have seen like you go up against Josuke and Jotaro for close to no connections is mind-numbing, honestly. One Yujiro Hanma versus Ranma Sotome would make a good and fun versus battle. Sure. I don't know who the latter character is, so I mean I can't really talk about this. Pokemon versus 1 billion lines debate has so much headcanon from all sides it's not even funny. This also applies to versus stuff involving mainline Pokemon games in general. I mean, not really, no. Even if you want to discredit Pokédex statements, there are tons of statements made by writers and in the lore itself, which just put Pokemon way above the 1 billion lines, so yeah, I just massively disagree. Bake versus Onma is closer than people tend to paint it as. Okay, right, that. Okay. But sure, I don't know the latter character, sure. I think Kila versus Yujiro is closer than it seems. That might be true. Honestly, it might be true. I mean,
Oh, bang, see you later, you go in prison.
Again, it depends what you buy for Yujiro scaling. You can scale them far higher than Killua, or you can have them around the same level. Like, it depends. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, right. So we have a lot of comments here from a lot of the same people. So let's go through them. Okay. By Weskin Time, the Elder Scrolls is really underrated in terms of scaling. One Punch Man scaling is overhyped. All the Sonic versus Dragon Ball matchups are boring. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is massively underestimated by the community at large. Goku is more overrated than Superman. Hal Jordan beats Ben 10. These all seem to have cold take for going into YouTube short. Yeah, I agree. One Punch Man scaling is overrated. I think it is better now. Like, it used to be a lot worse, but I think it is a little bit better now. And I think to say every Sonic versus a Dragon Ball matchup is boring is a little bit disingenuous. I think there are like one or two good ones. Like, I'm a fan of Knuckles versus Piccolo, for example. And there's also Nazo versus Zygar, which I quite like, although technically that's fan-made versions. JoJo is still underrated. I mean, again, it's had a little bit of a resurgence recently, but it is still generally underrated. Goku's more overrated than Superman. I mean, I've seen him being scaled to Outerversal recently a few times, so you be the judge of that. And yeah, Hal Jordan I think does beat Ben 10. Okay, then by Rai Skribigiz, Punch Man is overrated in power scaling. The cameraman solos fiction. Just because you have infinite power does not mean you can do everything or beat everyone. Bowser versus Eggman, no. Fawful versus Eggman, yes. Mario is very underrated in the power scaling department. Even though I love Daisy, Blaze has a lot better opponents than her. So firstly, Punch Man is overrated. I do love Punch Man, I must say. The cameraman solos fiction, I have never understood this, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it is funny, but when people actually genuinely say, oh, the cameraman solos fiction, it's just not funny with me, to be honest. Infinite power statement is correct, by the way, because there's more than one level of infinity. I mean, yeah, true infinity doesn't exactly mean, the infinity that's been talked about. Saying no to Bowser versus Eggman, yeah, I think that one's a crime. Mario's very underrated, that is true. I've been arguing Mario to be universal to multiversal, to even complex multiversal for a little while now. And even then, some people don't even know that. And fair enough for the Daisy matchups, to be fair. Weskin Time is back again, okay. Batman vs Saitama isn't close, favouring Batman. Bleach had relativistic 12% to 18% speed scaling before Ichigo even got Shikai blocking Acero with light. Later fought Renji, who had no living restriction, making his stats 5 times greater. Got a Bankai 10 times greater. Virgil versus Sephiroth is not close, favours Virgil. The Marvel Comics crossovers should be taken into account when using Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, or any wrestling personalities who have fought them. One Piece is the biggest is the weakest and slowest of the big three scaling and story-wise, pre-Boruto. Yeah, that is the first guy for the first banana. Astute observation. Batman vs Saitama, again, it just depends on how you scale DC Street Heroes, Batman could beat Saitama, and it's not even close, or Saitama could beat Batman. You know, it is what it is. Bleach scaling, I've really got no idea. Virgil versus Sephiroth. I mean, I do think it is debatable, but I mean, I'm not too well versed in the scaling of either, so I could be chatting out my arse there. And One Piece is the weakest and slowest of the big three. The general, like, I think that's like generally agreed upon. At least like in the wider versus communities. I don't even know if that's a hot take. Pre-Boruto, I mean, the Boruto anime is not great, I'll be honest, but the manga is actually pretty good. I'll say that much. The Boruto manga is actually pretty solid. And Banana has put his own slide of takes. Okay, let's see this. Alphonse versus Nezuko is a lot more debatable than people seem to believe, and it's quite frankly not crazy to say that Nezuko wins. I don't really get later parts of JoJo that scale to part 1 characters, especially with speed. I will die on the hill that the game versions of Mario and Sonic at their best is debatable. Matchups that resolve a Marvel vs DC character versus a non-Marvel vs DC character are some of the coolest, being Wally West vs Archie Sonic, Magneto vs Accelerator, and Kyle Rayner vs Simon the Digger. Or Simon. Why are there not enough Demon Slayer matchups based in music commissions? How can anyone make sense of anything beyond universal/multiversal? Death Battle's interpretations of matchups are not law. Remember to always look to your own conclusions and reasons as well. So, Alphonse versus Nezuko. I'm not too well versed. I speak words in Fullmetal Alchemist scaling, but from what I know, it is a bit more debatable than people seem. It is really dark in here. I should really put a light on. That's marginally better. I don't get using later parts of JoJo to scale part 1 characters too. I mean, fair, I guess, but I mean, at the same time, Dio did state that his body was weaker in part 3 than when it was in part 1, so that would just directly scale him to his part 1 self. So I kind of disagree with that. Mario vs Sonic is debatable. I also agree with that. I mean, Marvel vs DC versus non-Marvel versus DC are really cool. I do agree with that as well. Some of them, not so much, but I think there are some matchups that are actually quite good in my opinion. Not enough Demon Slayer matchup-based music commissions. I mean, that's just sad, honestly. I've been thinking about doing a couple commissions myself when I get money in from YouTube, eventually. How can anyone make sense beyond multiversal and universal? I guess technically no one can, like in a literal sense, because it doesn't exist in the real world. But that's why, like, definitions are made up in, like, Versus Battle Wiki and character stats and profiles, just so we have a general definition of what that is. Although I will say I don't fully agree with some things on both ends, because I mean, you can now make any character multiversal at this point, let's be honest. And yeah, the last point about the death battle thing is okay. Some rather unique takes, okay. Nuzlite is a popular YouTuber. Okay, right.
I am going to commit great crime!
He thinks he's slick, right? He thinks he's slick. Saying that I'm a popular YouTuber in an unpopular opinions thread, that's... People really overuse the term outflyer and it's lost all its meaning. I mean, it depends on the context. I think it does depend on context, realistically. I mean, fair, I guess. Time isn't... How do you misspell isn't that badly? Isn't a higher dimension. There is no universal plus and multiversal plus equals infinity statements, and 4D should be low complex multiversal. The only verses where time is a higher dimension, and only verses where there is a higher dimension, it would be low complex. That was... my brain melted, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, again... It depends on context, realistically. Universal plus, by definition, is infinite. Like by the typical like standards of versus debating. But I mean, there are some instances where being infinite in power can make you even higher than that, depending on other feats of characters do. So it just depends. People should stop saying, "Oh, he will win because prep time." True, honestly, true. Maybe X Universe has just got light faster than ours. It's dumb as fuck. Honestly, again, I agree with that. Unless there's like actual things to back it up, I honestly agree with that. Almost 99% of Death Battle debunks are worse research and riddled with confirmation/biased generalizations of the show and Versus as a whole, making me take them not seriously almost all the time. While I agree with most people when an episode is wrong, Thor versus Vegeta and Deku versus Asta, it was definitely worse than modern examples. Again, yeah, I agree with that too. especially because of how subjective versus debating is as well. People are always going to, you know, have favourites in that case. Anything in tier 1 is low-key cringe. The only exception is 1C, that's already pushing it. Like, I know you're a Mario fan, but you don't have to project onto me. Calculation should be used to actually explain feats, not hyperbole. I mean, I guess. I don't really understand what the implication of that is. I just hit my desk. Debating stateless is more fun versus debating with stats. I think he's saying equalized stats are better than power scaling. Honestly, depending on the debate, I think it's better. Like Stain versus Garo, I much prefer as an equalized stats debate than an actual debate, for example. It just depends. Almost the entire community needs to stop acting like scientists getting paid to power scale fictional characters. Just because you show versus battle wiki forums to provide evidence, which is just a copy and paste argument, doesn't mean you know what's being discussed. I mean, fair, I guess. I mean, there are some people that do take it like way too seriously. I won't lie, but I mean, sometimes it needs like a lot of like in-depth discussion. To be fair, and that's the end of the slide. So that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, subscribe. I'm sure that you've not been bored of my voice already and face, and I'll see you all next time.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.